Well, hello friends. So today we are gonna be reviewing the 20 by 20 stacks from Rush FPV. These are the Blade F7 analog along with the Racing 60 amp ESC. These are both 20 by 20 ESCs and FCs. So let's dive into it. So let's take a look at the packaging of the Rush FPV stacks. They come in this very nice premium packaging of plastic, that is these things on the side, which helps us to mount these together like this. As you can see, they are not falling off. This is a really good thought for storing your boxes and keeping them organized, keeping your storage organized. So that's a really good thought. I wish all the electronic companies provided these kind of packaging so that later on they can be used for good storage, optimum storage. So here's the back side of the packaging. As we see, there are labels of the Rush FPV and the package contents mentioned over here, and there are also some minor details of let me focus, yeah, and there are also some minor details of the FC and the ESC mentioned over here on the packaging, so you can get a quick overview of that. That's a really nice thought. So now let's dive into the unboxing. So as I told you, these are stackable. These can be removed from the stack just like this easily, and they can be snapped back easily into place just like this. So yeah, that's a really good thing. Now let's get unboxing. So we'll start with the Rush FPV ESC over here. The first thing we get out of the box is the product manual. So very nice and informative product manual. So this is the ESC and comes in nice packaging that prevents it from static currents. So this is the wiring harness. This is the wiring harness. We see that it comes with two different sizes of grommets. These are M3 grommets. I guess they are 5mm and 8mm, and along with that we get two FC to ESC cables. One has a connector on both end and one is open ended, and we also do get some connectors that we can configure according to our FC connection. So that's a nice thing to have. So we have a 35 volt 470 microfarad Rubicon capacitor. That's a nice and compact capacitor, and we also have this Rush power filter board that we get with the ESC for 6S lipos. So this is a really good combination for power filtering on your setup. You can use this ESC and just mount it on over here and then connect it on your lipo connector or the XT60 or XT30, whatever you're using, and you can get really good clean power input from your lipo. That's a really good thought. And at the end we get some Rush FPV Rush Racing stickers. So let's unbox the Rush FPV F722 analog mini FC. Over here we can see on the packaging what's inside. There's a FC, there's a ESC cable, a VTX cable, a camera cable, there's a LED cable and the RX cable. Along with that we see two sets of grommets over here. There is a M3 and there's an M2 written over here. That's strange. Let's look into it when we unbox it. So this is an F722 FC with MPU 6000 gyro. That's really good. It's a high volt BEC on board. It has an UOSD chip, a 16 MB black box and the modular cable. So all these cables provide for a solder free experience for the users. So that's a really good thought. Let's unbox it. Over here we see the manual. The first thing, as always, that's a good thing to see good product manuals. These are the grommets, and as you can see, these are the cables and the grommets, and I don't think that they are of any different sizes. These are all M3 grommets along with the different height configurations, we can say. And this is the FC. Over here you can see we've got nice soldering pads on the bottom, and on the top we see it is covered with heat sink, and there are connector pads for each and everything you want on an analog FC, that is a VTX cam, RX, and if you're planning on using LEDs, we've got a pad for that too. So let's get the products in hands. As we see over here, the Rush Blade 60 amp ESC. It's a 32-bit PL32 ESC. It has nice big soldering pads for the motors and for the battery leads. Over here we see there are capacitor holes on the battery lead as well. That's a good thing. We have a nice and sturdy connector. A bad thing over here is we see there is no there are no soldering pads in order to connect the ESC to the flight controller, so this is your only resort for that. If you break this connector, I don't know how you will be able to use this ESC with your FC, so be sure not to break that. And over here we see there are two small holes on either end of the ESC. These are for the additional capacitors if you want to use more filtration on your board, and that's a really good thought. I really like that. And there is heat sink on both the sides, aluminum heat sink that is connected to the FETs via thermal paste, as you can see. So I don't think heating would be an issue over here. These are 40 volts rated MOSFETs, good quality MOSFETs from what I hear, and it has a dynamic PWM frequency as well. So let's take a look at the Blade F722 analog mini FC. The first thing we see there is there are mounting there are sections over here in order to put the gummies in, the rubber or silicone gummies in, so that is a really good thought. Over here we see there's an aluminum housing for the F722 processor in order to keep it cool. There are also labeling over here for the VTX cam, LED and RX pads. Over here we see that okay, there are no connectors like this for the ESC pads. You'll have to solder the ESC pads on the FC. Over here we see the ESC has the connector, but the FC does not have a connector, so you'll have to use the open-ended cables. Over here we see you can either choose to power the VTX via a battery or a 5V, so that's a good option for people who are using a 5V VTX. And I hope there won't be any more noise on the VTX if we use the bat, as we have pretty good filtration options over here present on the ESC. The next thing we see is the RX can also be powered via 3v3 volts or 5 volts. That's a good option to have. We see we can use 6 motor outputs as well, M5, M6, and yeah, over here we also have I2C. There are UART pads back over here as well if you want to add anything externally. Let's just say, like for example, GPS. If you're using it for an analog build, it has a micro USB. That's pretty old now, but it works, so I don't mind that. Let's take a closer look at the ESC and the FC again. I have gone ahead and unboxed all the contents of the packaging. I have installed the gummies. Both the FC and the ESC have the different size of gummies that come with it. Note that if you install the shorter grommets or gummies on the ESC, the aluminum casing protrudes out on the bottom a bit, so be sure that you have a nut below each of the screw in order to space this properly from the bottom plate of the frame you are mounting it on. And this is the height of the second grommet that comes in the packaging. Both the FC and the ESC come with 2 sets of such grommets, so that's a good thing. And now we see that there is good spacing between the FC and the ESC present over here. There's a pad, connector pad over here. There's a connector over here for the FC ESC cable, but there is no such connector present over here on this FC. There's only one option, that you have to solder them over here. So that is, it would have been nice if there was a connector over here present as well, but I think that might be a reason to reduce the height of this stack, which is already pretty high because of the aluminum housing on both the PCBs. And talking about PCBs, these are both really high quality PCBs. I feel these are really thick and are not really fragile unless some other budget brands that we see. So these are the different types of cables that come with the FC over here. This stack cable also comes with the FC as well, which is open-ended on the other side for soldering. I think this is for the receiver. This is for the camera. This is for the LED. Focus. This one is for the LED, and this one is for the VTX, I think so. So these are the wiring harnesses that come with it. It also comes with these three customizable connectors for the FC to ESC wiring, and the ESC also comes with these two FC to ESC wiring harnesses. This one can be customized as it has pre-crimped connectors on the other end, and this one is a fully plug and play wiring harness. So we have the Rush FPV F722 60 amp racing ESC stack installed in this light switch V2 Ultra, and as we can see, it is a pretty neat build. You can see this proper spacing over there between all the three boards. I'm using a TBS Tracer 69 because that's what I run on for all my racing rigs. And yeah, now we just have to solder the motor wires and jump into beta flight and BLLE 32.